Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know that we're reaching the end of my year-long deep dive into the Thoth system, the system created by Lady Frida Harris and Harris-Crowley. And within that deep dive, I've been doing an extended series called My Back to Basics, in which I've limited myself to a total of 3 tarot cards and 2 oracle cards. And if you've been following this channel for the few years that I've been here on YouTube, you know that that is quite a restraint on my explosion of spreads. So we're doing the 3-card spread with a couple of advice cards from an oracle deck, and I've got the spread already laid out. But before we get to the spread, I, as usual, would like us to draw our attention on a specific topic. And the topic I'm thinking of today is willpower. Willpower. Now, willpower and will are very different things, I think. For me, will is our ability to make decisions and choose and move in the direction of the things that we want. It's kind of an associate or a sidekick to the power of intention. Yeah, we have the will, the free will, to make decisions, to choose our preferences within a range of parameters. And if you're curious about that, you can ask me in the comment section below and we can discuss that, or maybe I'll make a different video. Willpower is something that's very different. And actually, I don't think really fits well within the parameters, the intentional lifestyle. The lifestyle of living intentionally and a lifestyle that relies on willpower are very, very different things. Do you know that? If you do, that's wonderful. You are laudatory and praiseworthy. If you do not, let me just break it down for you. Now, living an intentional life is what? When we live intentionally, we open ourselves up to the power of intention. And we understand that there is a power in the universe, a creative power in the universe that moves in the direction of evolution and moves in the direction of those things that we want for ourselves. And intention helps us as we evolve and as we are open to it, helps us to move in the direction of those experiences, those things that we want to have, the people we want to meet, the people we want to be in relationship with, the kind of work we want to do, the vacations we want to go on, the houses we want to live in, the apartments we want to live in. I'm more of an apartment person. All of those things and more are placed vibrationally on the powerful course of our intention. And as we open to it and we allow ourselves to evolve into the beings who will have those experiences, intention moves us in that direction. Willpower is very different. Willpower is a power that is not collective, it's not universal, it is an individual power. We rely on our own energy, our own force, if you will. We make our decisions just as we would in an intentional life. And instead of opening to the possibilities of moving forward in the direction of those things that we know we will experience because we have decided them, we work for them, we strive for them, we use our personal energy, which is separated from the collective universal energy that is available to us. Yeah, we use the energy that we have within these limited human bodies to move ourselves deliberately and with force and with all of the power that we can personally muster in the direction of those things that we want to have. And we use diligence and we use stick-to-itiveness and we use all of those very, very, very resistant powers that we have. And why do I call them resistant? I call them resistant because, have you ever said, I'm going to use my willpower to create the life I want to live? Or have you generally said or heard others say, I am going to create the life I'm going to live, damn it, because I have the willpower to do it? Do you notice how tight I've become? That tightness is an indication that we are closing ourselves off from the full potential of the power of intention. Now, we're never completely cut off from it. We could be in the depths of despair, of depression, of unworthiness, and we will still have the power of intention moving with us, through us, around us, but we're not taking very good advantage of it. It's like a rock sunk to the bottom of a stream bed. The river is still moving that rock. It's just not moving very quickly. Now, if that rock, the amount of matter in that rock is able to open to something that is able to catch the current and move with the flow of water, that's a very different experience. And it's no longer a rock, it's something else. It might be a leaf, it might be a piece of cloth, it might be anything that's open and able to take advantage of the power of intention, the power of the current of water in that metaphor. So, willpower can be problematic in living an intentional life, because whenever we find ourselves engaging our willpower, we're generally cutting ourselves off from intention, reducing our access to the power of intention. We never cut ourselves off. However, that does not mean that we are flighty, that we have no sense of purpose, that we have no direction. Those are not the only two choices. Willpower and lack of direction, lack of focus, lack of intent. Those are not the two choices. There are many other choices that include a very open, empowered feeling, sense of moving in the direction of what I want, enjoying the process of evolving into the being who has those experiences that I want to have. The feeling of being empowered and enjoying the power of working, of creating in the material plane, without cracking down and engaging willpower. Without using effort, we can enjoy working. Does that make sense? If it does, let me know in the comments below. If it does not, let me know in the comments below. This might require an entirely different video. But I think this is an important concept for us to have in these brains of ours, or in our minds, which are more expansive than the physical form of our cranial matter. We want to have these ideas firmly, clearly planted in our understanding as we move into this week's reading, because they will be beneficial and useful for us. So friends, I have a spread, like I said, all laid out for us. What I will do first is I'll show you the whole spread. We'll talk about the parts just in case you are new here, and then we'll break it into the two major sections of the spread and read those together. Are you all ready for this intentional journey? Here we go. You just saw the spread. It's not very big, right? And you saw that there were two rows of cards. One on the top, which was from the Tarot deck, called the Gil Tarot. And it's a wonderfully, I'd say, Thoth Golden Dawn inspired deck, which is why I decided to bring it into the sphere of my deep dive into the Thoth system, though there are some differences. We won't notice those differences very clearly in this spread, but if I use the deck again next week, we might notice a card or two which is very different. The artwork is different, yes. The other Thoth-based decks that I've used in this deep dive into the Thoth system, their artwork was also very different, correct? This deck's artwork is very different from Lady Frida Harris's, and yet it has a lot of the same symbols, the same foundational ideas behind it. The guidebook is a very good guidebook, but it does not resonate well with my understanding of the world and of Tarot. So, for some people, this guidebook is wonderful. It's brilliant. It's a little too... Now, okay, Crowley had very negative perspectives on many of the cards that I find to be less negative. Okay? I've talked about that briefly throughout this series. The guidebook to this deck is filled on every page with "watch out, be careful," in a way that I think is unnecessary for me. Now, I know that a lot of people get a lot out of that kind of a guidebook, and this is a well-written guidebook. It's a wonderful guidebook. For me, however, not so much. Although it is nice to have some of the symbols touched on and highlighted in the book, so I look at it, I refer to it, but I don't read the deck from the guidebook, if that makes sense. Okay, so it's a good guidebook, great deck, lovely artwork, and we'll take a look at that row in more depth in just a moment. Below we have, those three cards. Just in case you are new here, they are in what we call a positional spread. Do you know what that means? Probably you do. It means that each one of the cards is responding to a specific question or prompt. And the first card is responding to the prompt of significance. The significant answer to the question I ask every week, which is, how can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week? So that's the significant answer. The second card is the challenge, either positive, something we can reach for, we can strive towards, something we want to move in the direction of, or it can be a negative challenge, something that is standing in the way, an obstacle. The third card is advice. That's pretty clear. Now the two oracle cards below, they're also advice cards, but sometimes they lean in the direction of a reiteration of the spread above. Sometimes they lean into another layer of meaning. This week, I think we're leaning in the direction of advice, but we shall see. First, we're going to read the three tarot cards on the top. Never mind. The three tarot cards on the top. And then we'll move into the two oracle cards, right? Are you ready? Here are those three cards again, up close and personal. The three cards we had responding to the prompts significance, challenge, advice were, from left to right, very interestingly, the Queen of Wands, the Princess of Wands, and the Four of Wands. A very, very fiery spread, right? Now, if there were three different suits and one was missing, we'd say that missing card was, that missing suit was significant. Because all three are from one suit, rather than looking at what is missing, we're really strongly highlighting the wands, which is interesting because we are here moving into Leo season at the time of this filming. Yeah? Leo, fire, fixed fire, my sun sign. Maybe that had something to do with the spread. Now, the Queen of Wands and the Princess of Wands are neither associated with Leo. Yeah? But we do have a lot of fire in this spread, which is interesting. And that is apparently how we're going to live more intentionally in this coming week, by engaging our fire element powers, which are what? Which are creativity, which are inspiration, which are leadership, and sexuality, and passion. That's the word I was looking for, passion. All of those things are going to be very, very helpful for us in the coming week. And we want to be careful, I think, if we're in this northern hemisphere, we're in some very hot months, and adding fire to the hot months can be challenging, right? If we get too hot in the hot months, we could cause some problems for ourselves. So we want to enter this week of inspired passion with caution, I think. Not fear, not worry, with clarity of mind and precision. Does that make sense? And we're starting off with this beautiful Queen of Wands. Isn't this a gorgeous card? I love the Queen there sitting with all of that fire. And you might be saying to yourself, if you've been following along this deep dive into the thought system with me, now wait a second, Derek. You look at the Emperor card from Lady Frida Harris's deck, which you love, and you complain incessantly about the reds and the oranges in that card and how it's difficult to see. Same deal here, all reds and oranges. However, perhaps it's because it's mostly yellow and very little red, whereas the Emperor card is mostly red with a little bit of yellow. This image is much clearer for me to see. And what I really mean clarity of being able to look at the image for an extended period of time. The Emperor card is fire murky to me. I can't see it clearly. If that makes sense. Maybe it does not make sense to you, but this one I can see very clearly. Interestingly, the Queen of Wands, just as the Emperor card in the Thoth deck, the Harris-Crowley deck, are both associated with Aries. Now, which is the domicile of Mars, from which cardinal fires, vital attributes are entering our reading, are entering our natal charts, are entering the question we're asking of the Tarot. How can we live more intentionally in the coming week? We can do so in the coming week by engaging our cardinal fire. Moving forward, moving ahead with our passions and our sexuality and our creativity and our inspiration and all of that wonderful fiery energy. Now, the Queen of Wands is water of fire, right? So we do have a little bit of mellowing of the suit, just a little bit. And of course, the Princess of Fire, of the Princess of Wands is Earth of Fire, so we've got another receptive element added to the fire in okay, I won't say all of the cards, in these first two cards. But anyways, we're here with the Queen of Wands. Aries, domicile of Mars, cardinal fire. Now, Crowley associates all of the cork cards with hexagrams. Yeah, I Ching hexagrams. And this is associated with number 17, Sui, I don't know, which is lake over thunder. Water over fire. Lake over thunder. Which is called following in the I Ching. Now, Crowley says it's impulsiveness without the direction of creativity. It's fickle and it's disloyal. That's Crowley. And that's important because Crowley is the one who selected that hexagram for this queen. And why is that so? Crowley does not see the willpower, if you will, associated with this card. There is will. Yeah, Crowley does see driving will and ambition here. There are urges to survive, to thrive, and to have meaning with the Queen of Wands. All wonderful. But she's also a little bit changeable. Whereas perhaps the king might not be such. Yeah? There's an aspect in the queen that could get us in trouble, and yet it's attractive. So, what is the significant answer to the question? Well, we want to engage those attractive powers we have while avoiding the potential of getting into trouble, I think. And we want to reflect on our impulses, because those impulses could be so diverse, they could be pulling us in different directions, cracking apart our direct flow of intention. Right? Yeah? So we want to reflect on our impulses. We want to develop a steady flow of action and allow the power of intention to move us in that direction. We want to avoid taking offense or those potential feelings of revenge that might come up with the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands is adaptable and persistent in action. We want to be adaptable without being too too impulsive to the tune of not keeping on course, right? The course can shift. We want to adapt our course, but we don't want to go crazy. We don't want to try to hop on over into an entirely different course of action, right? We want to let our flow of intention adapt and move as it will, like a stream, without trying to hop on over to the next river 3 miles over. Does that make sense? That's what this queen is teaching us. How can we live more intentionally? We want to engage our will and our ambition. We want to follow those urges of survival, of thriving, of having meaning in the work and the things that we're doing. We want to engage our attractiveness and those things that we have that are attractive to others without getting ourselves into trouble, as there's potential there. We want to reflect on the impulses we have without cutting them off at the beginning. We want to look at them and discern, is this a valid, an appropriate, a helpful impulse, or is this an impulse that just appeared and is because of our distraction? Those things happen too, right? And we want to monitor our emotional state and make sure that we're not being impulsively reactive to other people, taking offense, desiring to get revenge. Now, the creator of this deck sees the fire of water aspect as a mirror, which to the creator of this deck also echoes words like mirage and miracle from the Latin mirari, which means to look at, to wonder at. So we want to engage that aspect of self as well, to reflect, to wonder at, to not wonder as in, oh, I don't understand. What's happening? What's going on? But to wonder at the miracle of those impulses, the miracle of life, the miracle of the power of intention, the miracle of us as well, and wonder at the miracle of us being and moving in and creating the world that we are experiencing. So, the world is a reflection of us. The world, the universe that we are experiencing is a reflection of our inner world. If it doesn't exist in here, we're not going to see it out there. Not because it doesn't exist, but because the world we're creating is, again, a reflection of what we are inside. So we wonder at that, the miracle of that, and yet we recognize that it is only a reflection. And so if there are things that we want to change that we would hope to be different, we become the difference we want to experience in our created universe. And I think that's what this is pointing towards. And so what's the challenge? The challenge is this beautiful Princess of Wands, in which we see no human, right? The Harris-Crowley deck, Lady Frida Harris, drew this gorgeous, youthful female figure with hair that is in the shape of the wings of the goddess Mat. The balance of the heart, of justice, of weighing the heart against the feather in Egyptian traditions, right? Here the Princess of Wands is Earth of Fire. We have this beautiful wand here as the princess. The wand has what looks like wings, fire shaped into wings, right? Which makes us think of the phoenix rising from the flames. There's no, the Princess of Wands in the Harris-Crowley deck also has a tiger that is being dragged. I'm sorry, I'm having some issues with my memory in my camera phone. So, what we were just talking about, the Princess of Wands, right? And she's Earth of Fire. I think I mentioned that already. Now, Crowley associates her with hexagram 27, which is what? It's a person who is omnivorous of passion, yeah, reckless in attaining gratification. They want everything and they're not careful about how they get it, right? So that seems like it could be a very negative thing. And like I said, Crowley had some very negative ideas around a lot of the cards that I don't see as being so negative. However, what other associations are there for this beautifully drawn card? We have radical transformation. Yeah, what is fueling the fire? We want to know what is fueling this brilliant fire, which is both around, beneath, and in creating the wand, right? There's fire around the wand, it's beneath the wand, and the wand is also created by the fire. So what is fueling the fire? What is the fuel? And how is that energy being released? Is it being released in a creative way or in an unfocused and potentially destructive way? We have the potential of being brilliant, daring, and courageous here, which were kind of attributes that were associated with the Queen of Wands. So that's the challenge here, is to be brilliant, be daring, be courageous. We must be aware while our passion burns, we want to be careful of hyperactivity as well. So we want to be careful of thoughtlessly following our impulses like the Queen of Wands, but we also want to be careful of not being hyperactive, especially in these hot months of the summer. There's the potential for bright sparks of ideas. And those sparks can generate something novel, something brilliant. Now she's here at, this wand is on the altar of Aries. Aries, right? This wand is at the altar of Aries. It's at the altar of the Queen of Wands. So we rise from and within the flames. We're bold, we're courageous, we're daring. We want to be careful of overdoing it. We want to be careful of being reckless. But we do want to, just like we were reflecting in the Queen of Wands, we want to reflect on what is feeding this fire. What is the source of our power and how is this energy being directed? That makes sense, yes? And so the next card is the Four of Wands, which is what? It's completion. Now this is also, guess what? It's Aries. It's Venus in Aries. So we've got another Aries indication here. And when we have Venus in Aries, we are passionate and dynamic. This is the advice, to be passionate and dynamic, I believe. Now, still we have the fours, right? The fours, which are stability, they're completion. And we might be experiencing a feeling of completion, and that completion can satisfy, but nothing remains the same. So we want to, yay, we finished this, we've completed this, we've reached this far, and yes, we're moving forward. We're changing, we're transforming. I mean, I'm reading the 3 cards in a line right now. That's not all necessarily in the Four of Wands. Clear boundaries are called for in the Four of Wands. We want to make sure that we're not letting too much stuff in. We're not letting people come in and poke at us. Remember, because we have the potential to become reactive. We don't want to do that. We want to have clear boundaries. This is my space. This is what I'm going to do. This is as much as I'm going to do, and I won't do more than this. Clear boundaries for letting stuff in, and also clear boundaries of this is how much I'm going to do. We want to fulfill our promises and recognize that we have created a foundation for our future progress, for our change, and for our transformation. We have that foundation. And if we don't, we're checking in, right? We're checking in with both the Queen and the Princess. We check in. If the foundation is not secure, secure that foundation. And enjoy this milestone of how far we've come. Now, perhaps we're not feeling the intention. Perhaps we're not feeling the desire to expand or modify whatever situation we're in. But where we are cannot remain the same forever. And we want to know that in the most positive light, that not remaining the same forever is perfection. It's our evolution. And we have these sparks, these queens and princesses within us that are calling us forward. So, we don't want to settle in or settle down. We want to recognize the foundation and be prepared to leap forward. That's the advice. Now, the 4 in the square here. According to the creator of this deck, the square is the spiritual frame in which the completed king, the 4, the king, operates in obedience to a higher law. Yeah, the king. The kings, we think of the emperor sitting with their leg crossed, right? It's number 4. The emperor, the king. Completion, organization, operating in obedience to a higher law. Within a spiritual frame is how this card is described by the creator. So that's what we want to do too. Now, we want to recognize that we are operating in a higher spiritual frame from the universe that we are physically experiencing and creating for ourselves. And yet we have a foundation from which to leap forward. And even if we're not feeling that leap yet, we want to feel for it. You know? Because it's there. It's there. And again, we don't want to go crazy. We don't want to try and leap into somebody else's or into another stream or a river of intention. We want to flow with our own, with the passion that we have available to us. And it's there. Whether we recognize it or not, it is there, if we're open to it. Does that make sense? Well, friends, we've got 2 cards of advice from the Oracle deck. Are you ready for those? Let me show them to you right now. The 2 oracle cards we had from left to right were number 10, organization, and then number 9, principle. Yeah, and the reason why they're 10 and 9 are not because they are in direct order in the deck, but because number 10 is the number of the zodiacal sign Capricorn. And number 9 is Sagittarius. Yeah, so Capricorn, the normal domicile of Saturn. But here in this card, we have Mercury in Capricorn. And the image is what? The image is a farm scene, which indicates routine and application to duty. And those things enable the fruits of our labors, indicated by that bunch of wheat up there in the corner. Yeah? So, routine and application of our duty enables the fruits of labors. Wonderful. So the first bit of advice is to be shrewd, be practical, and organized. All things Capricorns like to do. Do things one step at a time, which could be a little bit challenging for Mercury here. We want to have a realistic approach to our goals. We don't want to get fooled by idealism, which could be a challenge for the Sagittarian card right next to us, right? So we don't want to get fooled by idealism. We want to be what? We want to be realistic, and yet we want to have a sense of humor. Yeah, we don't want to be too serious about all of this. We want to enjoy the process and be willing to laugh at little mistakes or little things that arise. We want to have a good sense of humor. We want to spend time on our education and planning as well. We want to learn and, again, organize not only things but our plans, our intent of our actions. We might have a need for recognition, which could be a trap for us. Or it could be a driver. It could be what helps us move in the direction of what we want. We might do more because we feel we'll get more recognition for doing the stuff. But it could be a trap. If we're only doing it to be recognized, not a good idea, right? Conscious work is called for here. Being really aware and organized in the stuff that we're doing. And being shrewd and, again, practical. And the next card here is what? It's number 9, principle. Now, Sagittarius is the natural home of Jupiter, and here we have Jupiter in Sagittarius. So it's in its natural home. On the image, we see ruins, right? It's the establishment of older times. There's a matrix here. Why did I say there's a matrix here? Oh. Okay, so there's this constellation. Do you see the constellation inside of that dove figure? I think the name of that constellation is Matrix. Anyways, it's our spiritual power through time and across space. It's Noah's constellation. And one of the stars there is Fact. I think that's the correct pronunciation, which relates to both Jupiter and Saturn. Interesting. So this card is what? We are benefited by broad, adventurous travel, both physically and mentally, spiritually. So if we have the chance to get out in the world, that would be helpful. But we could also do that, take an emotional journey. We could take a mental journey of evolution. We could take a spiritual journey of growth. Those will all benefit us right now. Studying another culture would be great too. Anything that's going to broaden us, like Jupiter likes to expand, right? Studying philosophy, psychology, or religion can be beneficial for us now too. So there's good teaching here, good teaching skills with strong ethics. We have good farsightedness here. And our farsightedness can see into the future and take advantage of opportunities. Our principles and our life philosophy are significant in this card. So, we want to be realistic. We want to approach our goals clearly. We want to spend time on education and planning. We're benefited by our expansion in whatever way we can, physically, traveling, studying other cultures, expanding our minds, expanding our spiritual lives. We want to recognize that we have good teaching skills and that we have a good broad range of vision, which will help us to do all of the stuff that we want to do, indicated by the cards above, right? This is additional advice, I believe, to that Four of Wands. Now, our principles and our life philosophy are going to be helpful for us as we expand, as we grow, as we learn and teach, and realistically and pragmatically approach the work we want to do, consciously. And if we do stuff in addition because we know we will be recognized for it, all the better. But not just to be recognized. That's a trap. I hope that makes sense for you. If it does, let me know in the comments below. If it does not, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And friends, thank you. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button. Thank you for subscribing. It all helps the channel and helps people who are looking for the channel. If you want a reading from me, my email address is below. Shoot me an email to thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com. Ask for a reading, you will get a reading. Whatever you want. About almost anything you want to ask questions about. I'm here for you. And I'm here also to wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.